Hello, everybody. It is December 27th, 2025, here in the United States of America. I hope everyone out there had a wonderful Christmas and got to spend some quality time with your families. My tree is still up and actually will be until after the 7th of January because that is Orthodox Christmas. Now, I attend a parish in the OCA, the Orthodox Church in America, and we celebrate Christmas on the 25th, but as a yearly tradition here in my household, we keep our tree up until after the 7th, until all of the church is actually done celebrating Christmas. You know, Rokor, the Serbian church, the Russians, Ukrainians, Belarusians, well, the canonical Ukrainian Orthodox Church, all celebrate their Christmases on January 7th. So even though we celebrate ours on the 25th in accordance with our bishop, well, we're still going to leave our tree up until after everybody is done celebrating. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about in this video a little bit was, one of the reasons why I think so many Western leaders are just poor at their jobs, have no idea what to do and no idea how to manage, what they've been given. And I think, a good analogy here would be, say, a father builds a business empire through his own blood, sweat, and tears and competence. Builds this sprawling financial empire, something that has to be run very precisely and very competently to continue to function as it does. But when it does function correctly, it really provides a lot of prosperity, comfort, and wealth to his family. Now, say his son grows up in relative comfort, never has to struggle for anything, never really has to learn anything, never really has to achieve anything on his own, and then he is handed the reins of this company after, say, the father retires or passes away, and he has no idea what to do with it and runs it straight into the ground because he's never actually had to be challenged to become a competent person. And this is a tale as old as time. This is a very common story. The king hands over the kingdom to the son, his successor, his heir, and then the son runs that kingdom into the ground. I can think of some historical examples. You have Marcus Aurelius handing the Roman Empire over to his son Commodus, and then Commodus running it into the ground. I think what has happened across the Western countries as a whole is, over the past several hundred years, Western countries generally have built up this very powerful, technologically advanced, civilization, this economic powerhouse that is spread across the entire world, culminating in the ascendancy of the United States, to where the United States was the sole world hegemon for several decades, and where almost every single country within the Western Hemisphere and even parts of the global South and the Middle East and Asia have become heavily Americanized. Our movies are popular, our culture, generally speaking, is very popular. Clothing, what have you, music. This is spread across the world. It really has, where the United States has become the central core of world culture. Not to everybody, to a lot of people it has. And what I think has happened is, over the last several decades in the United States, the UK, Western Europe at large, Canada, and Australia, you've had a group of people coming up through institutions, colleges, very credentialed people that seem, at least on paper, like the best and brightest we have to offer, are handed over the reins of the civilization that their forefathers built, and frankly have no idea what to do with it. They've never had to run civilization for themselves. They have no direct experience with it. None of these people have experience in the military, so when they go to wield Western military power, they do so haphazardly and with no idea of what they're doing. They are not using any lessons of the past to forge a path forward into the future. They feel no need to. They do believe that their ideas and their views are far more advanced than their predecessors. They know more things. They understand more things about the world. They're more scientifically advanced. They're not bogged down in old myths and traditions, old religious beliefs. They're new men. They're at the pinnacle of human civilization, and they're here to carry it into the future. And I think a lot of Western leaders, a lot of Western politicians in general, have this attitude. It's pretty prevalent here in the United States, especially in the Democratic Party. It's very prevalent in the United Kingdom and France and Germany. This glorious civilization, this beacon of human rights and of tolerance and of scientific discovery and great social programs, and it's they just don't seem like they have any idea what to actually do with it or how to keep the machinery functioning in any way, shape, or form. A lot of these leaders have these very wonderful, grandiose ideas about what Western civilization should become, like this kind of cosmopolitan representation of the entire world brought together, humanity brought together under one roof to live together in harmony and peace with one another, and to have these incredibly diverse societies that somehow manage to not become dysfunctional nightmares because people from different cultural backgrounds have very different morals and values and beliefs that don't exactly coexist well with one another. Like, they really believe that they can throw away, I guess, the culture and the beliefs of their forefathers, the achievements, the cultural achievements of their forefathers, and just build up something completely new on the ashes of that old foundation. And I think they're learning pretty quickly that no, absolutely they cannot. Emmanuel Macron is not Napoleon. Mers, what's his name? I forget it's the Chancellor of Germany. He's no Germanic leader of old. He's no Frederick Barbarossa, or take your pick. Keir Starmer is no, and I don't actually think he was that great of a prime minister, although many people in the UK would disagree with me. He's no Winston Churchill by any stretch of the imagination. And even here in the United States, our presidents, as far as their ability and capacity for leadership and vision, and an understanding of geopolitics, and a good understanding of the world and their own nation. I think almost all of our presidents for the last 50 years have fallen incredibly short when you compare them to, say, people like George Washington or John Adams, Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson even. Very well-read, astute, accomplished men with vision. We don't have that. We have, I think, just lazy, incompetent people that really don't understand their own civilizations. They didn't do anything to build them. They weren't exactly the ones laying the brick in the mansion that they live in. The most they've ever done is maybe sweep the floors, but they weren't there when the foundation was being dug out. So again, I think they're just comfortable to live within this great house, but not actually do any of the maintenance to keep things together. And I think this is where one of the reasons why this arrogance is so prevalent among modern Western politicians. They're very assured of Western military power. They're very sure that they can challenge the other great powers of the world and win without a shadow of a doubt. They're very sure in the stability of their own countries, even though they're actively promoting policies that to any sane, pragmatic person would understand that they're extremely detrimental to the long-term security and stability of their own respective nations, especially things over like immigration and speech codes and promoting things that actually make dysfunction worse. Making every effort that they can to get rid of religion, to make it just some kind of thing you do on the weekends, has weakened Western civilization as a whole. But, of course, during the Enlightenment, everyone was sure that, oh, well, once we get rid of these silly traditions and move towards, this grandiose vision of a free democratic society, everything would just be better. We'd be at the end of history. And we might be at the end of history, the end of our history, but not the end of history. But I think it's just this great sense of arrogance that Western leaders have from just inheriting something that somebody else built. There's been no real struggle for them to partake in. Everything has been very comfortable, calm, and peaceful, at least since the end of World War II. But I'm not going to go too much longer. That's just a thought I had today. But people wonder why so many of our leaders and politicians are the way they are, and why they're so incompetent, and why they're not forward thinking, why they seem to be constantly passing laws and making decisions that will do the opposite of maintain peace and stability. It's because, frankly, they don't know how to institute peace and stability. They don't know what constitutes a peaceful and stable nation. They don't understand the decisions that have to be made to actually keep the things that have to be maintained in order to keep a civilization functioning in any kind of reasonable manner. They don't understand it. They're highly educated, credentialed people that have read a lot of theories, that maybe have authored some books, and most of it's just conjectured nonsense. It's putting these grandiose ideas down on paper, but never actually having to implement them in the real world, and then finding out there's a lot of factors they haven't accounted for, and a lot of pushback that's going to happen if these things are actually fully implemented. If you can't rip away the pillars of human civilization, replace them with these things that you've built yourself, and then expect the full weight of the building to stand upon those things. But anyways, that's really all I wanted to talk about today. I don't want to ramble on forever. I will be back Tuesday or Wednesday with another video. If you enjoyed this content, please drop me a like, subscribe to my channel, and I will see everyone in a few days.